And then there were 4. Notre Dame against Penn State.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jackson Holzer. This is Locked On ACC. I'm filling in for Alex Dono, the host of Locked On Canes. I'm the host of Locked On Syracuse. And, of course, I'm joined by Kenton Gibbs, former NC State defensive tackle and now the host of Locked On Wolfpack alongside Grayson Boone. And we got plenty for you here on this edition of Locked On ACC. We're going to talk about portal winners and portal losers. We're also going to talk about the NCAA eligibility requirements because according to John Rothstein, Kenton, they might be giving everyone a 5th year. And we certainly have strong opinions about what the NCAA should do with everyone regarding eligibility. But we are going to start this podcast talking about Notre Dame, which is ACC adjacent when it comes to football, against Penn State in the last 4 teams remaining in the college football playoff. Before we get to everything, this episode is brought to you by Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Kenton, this game taking place on Thursday, Orange Bowl, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. What are you looking for in this matchup?
Yeah, so what I'm looking at in this matchup, I think that this is going to be, I talked about Georgia and Notre Dame being a game that was going to be won within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage. And I don't think that much has changed in terms of Notre Dame and Penn State. The only difference is this. There is the guy that's probably going to be the best player on the field is Tyler Ward. He's a guy that, on the outside, I don't look at Penn State and get scared. Penn State has shocked me. They've won more games than I thought. But with that being said, they've won the big game, which was always Franklin's Achilles heel. And say what you want about SMU, say what you want about Boise State. These are playoff games. It doesn't get any bigger. So there's that. But now on the other end of things, I'm telling you what, Freeman, what a hell of a job. A hell of a job coaching up that defense to stop Georgia. And, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, it was their quarterback. And, it was, they had their backup in and all that. Who cares? Who cares? You play who's in front of you. Yep. And you rock out from there. So I look at this game and I say to myself, if Notre Dame wants to win this game, it's very simple. The safety, your Nagurski winner, he needs to be on Tyler Warren like white on rice all night and run whatever coverage you want with it, whether it be zone or man, but you need to keep somebody with him at all times. And then from there, it's all about stopping that two-headed monster in the backfield and getting your running game going. Because while Notre Dame has had some struggles in terms of pass blocking the left tackle since they've started a true freshman out there, the biggest thing that has worked out for him has been when he gets to get his hands on those smaller edge rushers, and Abdul Carter is one of them. He's a smaller edge rusher. He's great around the edge when he's going upfield. But I'll tell you what, if a big tackle gets their hands on him, it's like a good bouncer, when they got those strict rules in the club. Hey, what are you doing with a hat in here? Don't worry about it, son. Come on, we're going to put you out the club. It could be one of those situations. So, again, this game to me it's very similar to the last one. And as much as we talk about spread offenses in today's college football, this game is going to be one lost in the trenches.
I agree with you on that one. And my thing about this is this almost feels like it's going to come down to Notre Dame's rushing attack, which is one of the best in the country, but they're currently banged up. Jeremiah Love, he's banged up right now, against Penn State's elite run defense. Yeah. And then you got Penn State's passing attack with Drew Aller versus Notre Dame's elite pass defense. It's a very, very interesting matchup. I feel like so far for Penn State in the playoff right now, they haven't really fully had to unleash Drew Aller. They haven't had to fully unleash him yet. If the time comes, is he going to be ready against this Notre Dame pass defense, one of the best in the country? And conversely with Notre Dame, if the game comes down to the fact that it's going to be in Riley Leonard's hands to throw the football, not run the football, is he going to be able to do it? Do you think so, Kenton?
I think so. Here's the thing. I was high on Riley Leonard coming into this season. Anybody who has seen me on the Notre Dame podcast I've been on this year, I've talked very highly about Riley Leonard, even when it wasn't easy. Even after that Notre Dame loss and everybody was calling me the biggest fool they done seen and all that, I still stood 10 toes down. Now, granted, I have said no more one-year transfers because, I mean, there are very few guys who set the world on fire. Jackson's over there smiling because he's like, oh, my God set the world on fire in year one. I can't relate to those problems.
Hey, Miami did it too.
Yeah, but for the most part, it doesn't work out. It just doesn't work out. But Riley Leonard has gotten better and better and better. And also, the offense has gotten better at working with him. It's no longer trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. It's, you know what? Our personnel is a round hole, so we're going to work, or our personnel is a round peg, so we're going to adjust the hole to fit. We're going to adjust that to say, okay, this is what he needs, and that's what it's been. Some people say, oh, they put training wheels on the offense and all that good stuff. I disagree. It's not that. It's playing to your guy's strengths. It is not about, oh, well, you're dumbing down the offense or simplifying the offense because you are not doing certain things. It is simply saying that's not your strength. That's not where you excel. I'm not going to put you in a position to fail. That's what a good coach is supposed to do. And that's why Freeman gets so much love. You lose a first-round cornerback early in the season, and yet you still have one of the best pass defenses in the nation. Your quarterback shows some holes that you may not have believed were there going into the season, and yet you adjust and work it out and move forward. You've got Jeremiah Love who's banged up, but I'll tell you what, he's been making the best out of that pitch count, ain't he?
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, every time you see Jeremiah Love come in the game, it's like you're hearing them Edwin Diaz horns. You know it. You know, because when he gets in the game, if he's even, he's leaving, even with a bad will. So you're looking at a situation where I think that Notre Dame will be just fine in this game because Coach Freeman is a hell of a coach. And even with these most recent wins and the fact that I hate going against a Cass Tech guy, Kobe King, you know I love you over there at Penn State. You know I think he's a hell of a backer. But if I'm looking at this game and saying, what's it going to come down to? If it comes down to Drew Aller, Riley Leonard, who can throw the ball the best, I think Notre Dame has a much better shot than people are giving them credit for. And even beyond that, if we're just going run game for what run game, blow for blow, I'm not going to be surprised if Notre Dame wins that battle either.
All right. Well, currently right now, Notre Dame on FanDuel is a 1.5-point favorite. So, Kenton, I guess if you want to give an early prediction, what is your prediction?
My prediction for that game right now be it's an extremely close one. I think it'll be a rock fight. I think it's going to be ugly. I think we're looking at a final score of 24-20 Notre Dame.
So I'm kind of with you on that, except I have Penn State. I think this is finally the game for James Franklin. See, a lot of people, including myself, have criticized him. You can't win the big game. Right. And granted, he's won 2 playoff games, but let's be honest, those wouldn't be playoff games in the old playoff format. You're in the Final Four now, right? It's the Final Four. I guess this isn't basketball, though. It's very weird calling that. It's very weird to say Final Four in football.
A Final Four is a Final Four. Whether you're the hardwood, whether you're the field, Final Four is the Final Four.
It's the Final Four. If you beat Notre Dame, I think we can officially put that narrative to bed, that James Franklin can't win a big game. And then it would simply become, well, can he win a national championship? Right. Because those are 2 different things, right? Yeah. So I got Penn State in this one. And I think similar to you, it's going to be very close. It's going to be a defensive battle. But I got Penn State 17-13. That's right. There's not going to be a lot of points in this one, in my opinion. I'm Jackson Holzer. That's Kenton Gibbs. We just wrapped up our talk about Notre Dame versus Penn State. And folks, feel free to comment in the comment section below your thoughts on the upcoming matchup this Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern in Miami, Florida, in the Orange Bowl. All right? Because coming up, we're really going to talk more about the ACC and the transfer portal, the winners and losers early this offseason. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same-game parlays, and so much more. Folks, my Super Bowl pick, for what it's worth, is the Buffalo Bills. All right? I think the Buffalo Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. Sorry, Kenton, who's a Detroit Lions fan. I don't think it's the Lions' year. I just don't believe in their defense. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. ACC transfer portal winners and losers. I'm Jackson Holzer, the host of Locked On Syracuse, and that's Kenton Gibbs, the host of Locked On Wolfpack. All right, so Kenton, straight up, who has been doing well for you in the transfer portal so far?
It's easy, it's low-hanging fruit, but sometimes the obvious answer is the right damn answer. Florida State has kicked ass and taken names in the portal. They have done a fantastic job in the portal. And granted, you needed to, right? Like, you can't look at last year's Florida State roster and say, oh, well, you can kind of ho-hum and haw, and whatever you do in the portal is going to be good enough. Absolutely not. When you talk about holes, right, that team had more holes than the movie Shia LaBeouf was in. You know, I'm tired of this, Grandpa. That's too damn bad. Yeah, this roster had holes all up and down it. And not only did they have holes, I think the biggest thing that people don't pay attention to a lot is that there actually was a very serious portal problem. I'm sorry, not portal problem. There's a very serious culture problem that, you know, not just with the whining and the quitting on the game and all that. There was also a thing where you brought back multiple players who jumped in the portal at the end of the season. So when you look at that, it's tough to say, oh, yeah, this is fine. Everything is okay here. We're fine here, despite the fact that you had guys who not only were just like, hey, I'm about the money, they don't want to be here, and you had to bring them back or chose to bring them back for whatever reason. But everything that they've done so far in the portal has been spectacular. And when I say everything, I mean everything. There is nothing that they've done. There's not a single player that they picked up in the portal where I say, man, that guy, you know, that Thomas Castellanos guy, you and I may disagree on him. What you can't disagree on, he's a playmaker. He makes something out of nothing. That's a guy that he is. You can't look at them and say, oh, man, they just didn't add anything on the offensive line. They have added 4 guys, all of whom, or I believe a majority of whom, have Power 4 starting experience via the portal. In terms of the receiving core, getting better, getting bigger, getting more size on the outside in the portal, and getting Dominic Robinson. I struggle to find a way, or Deuce Robinson rather, not Dominic, Deuce Robinson, his son. I struggle to find a way where you could say, hey, Florida State did not get better in the portal, not just from an addition standpoint, but also addition by subtraction, because multiple guys who got in the portal last year are now back in the portal and committed elsewhere.
Well, the good news, Kenton, I guess for Florida State fans as well, is I don't think you can get much worse than where they were at last season. You can't really get much worse. They're 2-10.
Very true.
It doesn't get worse, right? And I guess 1-11, 0-12. That's it. I really thought about deeming Florida State as a winner because I think they have done a fantastic job. Yeah. But we do disagree on Thomas Castellanos. He is a playmaker. He's a playmaker. He can make something out of nothing. But when you give him something, he's not always very good at taking it. And by that, I mean, those basic throws, the throws that quarterbacks are supposed to make in their sleep, he can misfire on them. He's not an accurate quarterback. Every time I've watched him, with the exception of, ironically, the Florida State game this year for Boston College, he hasn't really been that accurate. And you lose your heir apparent in Luke Romanhawk. So am I really going to sit here and say Florida State is such a huge winner because they got better at XYZ position, whereas at the quarterback, I'm still not sure. Are you positive in Thomas Castellanos? If you believe in Castellanos like you do, then yes, Florida State's a winner. I don't believe in Thomas Castellanos.
Even for somebody who doesn't believe in him, you saw the quarterback play last year.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not even going to say.
Kenton, you're talking about starting from literally the Death Valley. I mean, you are literally at the bottom of you're at the Earth's core. That's how bad it was last season, but
if you get better, you got to be a winner to me. And even outside the quarterback position, you can't argue they didn't get better on the edge because pass rush.
I'm not arguing. That's not what I'm arguing.
They had no pass rush juice whatsoever, despite all these big names, despite all these guys that I highly doubt. And I don't know exact figures for everybody, so I don't want to go speculating. Or actually, no, I'm going to say I'm not guaranteeing this. But I would speculate, one would think, based on what the NIL market is and the fact that guys jumped in the portal and came back, for an edge rusher, a really good one, I would suspect that they were paying well over $1 million, 1.5 for that defensive line, and just in terms of the first 4. I would suspect that. And you saw what the hell they did. So you're right. You're right. They are starting from the earth core, but I'll tell you what, I am not going to treat them like they're Florida State of old, because they're not. James Winston ain't walking through that door. James Wilder ain't walking through that door. Ward Dunn, Deion Sanders, they're not. Bobby Bowden ain't coming back to coach. God rest his soul. He's not coming back. So with that being said, I'm going to treat them like a 2-10 team. And if any other 2-10 team did this, if Boston College, let's switch the decals, and Boston College is the burgundy and gold team or the maroon and gold team that's doing this, we would all be like, well, damn, what they cooking over there? I got to give Norvell credit, because while last season was atrocious and that falls squarely on his shoulders, I also got to give you credit for improving this year.
All right, fair enough. I'll give you one winner, in my opinion. I don't know if you're going to like it, but it's my winner. I think North Carolina's doing a nice job in the portal.
I knew it.
I think they are. They haven't lost a single 4-star transfer, not one. When you look at their departures, some guys on 24/7 Sports, they're very weird with how they do it. They'll list like their high school rating for whatever reason. So I solely look at what their transfer rating is. None of them are rated 4 stars, the guys that they have lost. They added a 4-star defensive back from Washington who's an absolute stud in Kamori House. They added some O-line beef as well. And they have the 4th rated transfer class in the ACC currently. Tell me why I'm wrong. Why is North Carolina not a winner, in your opinion?
Here's the thing. I'm not going to lie to you and say they're not a winner. They've done well for themselves in the portal. I got to admit that. They've done well for themselves in the portal. However, when I look at North Carolina, I look at the same thing time and time again. The flash is always there. It's like dollar store fajitas that were bought out at Chili's. They'll spray the little sauce on it, and they'll spray the little spray on it to make it pop and glimmer, and everybody in the restaurant is looking, oh, that looks good. But when it gets to your plate, it's still ankle meat. It's still horse ankle on that plate, okay? The reality is North Carolina could put together the best portal class that we've ever seen. Bill Belichick is a 70-year-old who the NFL game passed by. And now, despite his no college experience in his 5 decades, by the way, and when I say no college experience, congratulations. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you have as little as or more than, there is no way you have less than this, college experience than Bill Belichick. He's never been a GA at the college level. He's never been a coordinator, never been a head coach. And now we're assuming that a 73-year-old is going to come in here and make things shit. Good luck. Good luck. I believe in you, buddy. Make it happen. Super excited. Again, William Mack Brown to William Belichick. Keep them both forever. Make one of them the GM and one of them the head coach.
I was going to say, you can make one of them a coordinator if you really
want. Yeah. Listen, I'm excited for them. I'm so excited to see the boys of Baby Blue. But again, in terms of talent acquisition, in terms of purely talent acquisition in this portal, I can't disagree with you. They've done a hell of a job.
All right. Let's get to some losers. What do you got? Who's a big loser for you?
I'm going to beat you to the punch because I already know. I already know what you're going to say. I already know you're going to come from my alma mater. I'm going to take my alma mater. I'm going to take them. Because if anybody gets to call
you're going to take
your
okay. I thought you were going to take my alma mater.
No. I wasn't going to take your alma mater. No. Because I am thoroughly shocked and a little disappointed by not just the fact that there were defensive back transfers away from NC State. It's the fact that all of them got in the portal within like a 24-hour span. It was the craziest thing. I have never seen anything like this. And some people are being a little bit dramatic and calling it a mass exodus. I wouldn't consider 4 or 5 guys a mass exodus. It was just the way in which it happened and the players in which were included. You got Brandon Cisse, who was a guy that I watched this film coming out of high school, and I said, I don't know how Clemson and South Carolina let him get out the state, but he's going to be one of the best corners in the nation coming soon. He's proven that. I look a little prophetic. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that, I'm the main character in Dooms, but me and Timothy Chalamet look a little alike. Anywho, the reality is this. He's proven to be that. He jumped in the portal. You look at T-Mac Cooley, a guy who transferred back home. He's a North Carolina guy, transferred back home from Maryland. He had a hell of a season. He started off a little slow, but picked up, got better and better and better throughout the season. And the bowl game was called a T-Mac Cooley game, where I believe he had 8 or 9 tackles, 2 interceptions, all that good stuff. He's in the portal. And then Devon Booker, who hadn't even played this year, rehabbing an ACL, he's in the portal. And then Bishop Fitzgerald gets in the portal. All these guys, Bishop Fitzgerald, everybody was excited because of the junior college ruling and knowing he was going to get an extra year eligibility. Now he's in the portal. And again, all of these did not happen like, one guy before the bowl game, another guy after. Literally, there's a 5-day window after your season ends to jump in. Every guy got in on the 5th day past like 8 p.m. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. So that type of movement all in that short of a span has to make NC State a loser for me. And don't get me wrong, they've done a good job of bringing in the new defensive coordinators, guys from Temple. They're following them over in terms of a couple of defensive backs, but it's still tough to lose guys who are all conference or who are on their way to being that in that quick of a sequence.
You know what, Kenton? I'm going to cut NC State a little bit of slack here. And it's not because you're an NC State alum or an NC State podcast host.
Mm-hmm.
They kept the number one guy. They kept their golden goose. They kept CJ Bailey from entering the transfer portal.
That's fair.
I think that's got to count for something.
That's fair.
If you can keep your quarterback who's got high hopes, high expectations from entering the portal, I think that's a win. I'm not going to call them a big winner, but I can't sit here and say, well, they're a big loser. A lot of people had it set in stone that CJ Bailey was going to go to Miami. He was going to enter the portal, and he was going to go to the Miami Hurricanes. I'm sure Dono wanted him, and a lot of people on Locked On Canes wanted him. But you know what? He's staying with the Wolfpack.
That's fair.
So that's got to count for something. I think that's a big win for you guys right there. For me, I'll go with my alma mater. I'm not in love with what Syracuse has done so far. Currently on 24/7 Sports, it's the second worst class in the conference. It's the lowest rated on average class, meaning the player average rating is the lowest for Syracuse right now. Now, granted, it's early. And if you're a Syracuse fan watching this, you're going to find out later in the week why I'm not too concerned about it. But we're doing early portal winners and losers. And I got to be objective here and say, has Syracuse really done what they needed to do in the transfer portal to get better? Yes, they got insurance at the quarterback position just in case Kyle McCord cannot come back. And we'll talk about the eligibility in the next segment here. But they still need to figure out linebacker. They still need to figure out defensive back. They still need to figure out the offensive line. Granted, they did add an offensive lineman. When your objectives are pretty similar to what they were before the offseason, and we're still talking about the same objectives on January 6th, you cannot be a big winner. In fact, you're more of a loser right now, in my opinion. But if you're a Syracuse fan who's tuning in right now because I'm hosting this podcast, don't worry. Relax. It's still early on in the process. Kenton, any last thoughts on portal's winner and losers?
I will say this. I'm expecting Louisville to come on strong in the portal like they always do.
They've already been strong.
And I was just about to say, I would expect the same for Syracuse. Those are two teams that, Louisville was right up there in terms of if Florida State hadn't been doing what they're doing, Louisville probably would have been my winner. But Syracuse, we know how Fran Brown gets down. Come on now. If there's two things you got to know about Fran, he's not going to shower after a loss, and he's going to cook up in that portal. Okay? And I see this as a thing where, I agree with you, Jackson. It's really a non-issue because it is early. It is early, and there's still time. And even with Coach Doran to some extent at NC State, I'm not super concerned like, there's no chance because I don't know what it is about NC State, but they find a way to get these late commits, these last second 11:59. For those of you who ever been in college and turned in that digital assignment at 11:59, you still get an A on it somehow. Doran's that guy. T-Mac Cooley was one of those guys last year that didn't come in until the last minute. And he came in and did great things toward the end of the season. So I look at this and I say to myself, I'm not like the sky is falling in Raleigh and everything needs to go, but this does need to be addressed. You do need to meaningfully address multiple positions. And like you said about Syracuse, there are still holes in this team that hadn't been addressed, which I'm still begging and pleading. Please get me 2 more quality linebackers. We need it. We don't want it. We need it. So we'll see how it works out.
All right, my last thought, Clemson Thank you for using the transfer portal finally. Really appreciate it. Welcome to the transfer portal. They've only added 2 players. I would love to see if Dabo Sweeney's going to add a 3rd player. Maybe I'll enter the portal and maybe they'll pick me up and say that I'm good enough to play at Clemson. But I digress. I'm Jackson Holzer. That's Kenton Gibbs. We just talked about the ACC early portal winners and early portal losers so far. Granted, it's only January 6th, and we still got plenty of offseason to go. Coming up, you know what's a big monkey wrench that could be thrown into this whole thing right now? You thought the Diego Pavia ruling was big for JUCO players. Well, the NCAA, according to multiple sources, might be giving everyone a 5th year. So Kenton and I are going to talk about some eligibility requirements after this. Attending the new 12-team college football playoff games is an incredible experience that brings fans together like never before. I remember the excitement of past playoff games and can't wait to make new memories with the updated format and extra teams involved. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for events even easier. It filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Recently, I used Game Time Picks to find tickets for an upcoming game. Browsing through the deals was a breeze, and I found great value for all kinds of seats around the venue. The Super Deal in particular stood out as the best value for the event. I love that I could see the seat views before buying, and that the app shows the total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, the on-time ticket delivery and lowest price guarantee gave me complete peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So the NCAA, according to CBS Sports' John Rothstein, is considering giving everyone across all college athletics. This is not just college football. This is not just college men's basketball. We're talking literally every single sport, every single athlete getting a 5th year of eligibility and basically creating what's called the 5-for-5 rule. You got 5 seasons to play 5 years. Kenton, what are your thoughts on this?
I love it. I love it. I am against a flat tax in terms of America's current tax system, but that's another story for another time. In terms of the NCAA, though, there needs to be just a flat 5. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. There is no scaling. There is no, and I'm saying this as a guy who suffered multiple injuries. I'm saying this as a guy who suffered year injuries. 5 should be it. 5 should be. We're seeing guys, I believe, and there was one in the ACC. I believe it was Cam McCormick that was on year, 8 or 9?
Yeah.
Stop. Go on somewhere. I don't care what your reason is. I don't care. With all due respect, I really don't. It is beyond insane to me to think about some of these things and, they needed to transfer for this reason. They had to sit out for the transfer. There's no sitting out anymore, right? If somebody in your family is sick and whatever the case may be, which to me really wasn't a good excuse to begin with, because if you think about it, it's like, if you knew that there was a chance that you're ailing or that you got a grandma that's 85 and you wanted Granny to see you play, why would you just not play near where Granny is instead of being like, my 88-year-old grandmother is sick now? That just is foolish. But that's neither here nor there. The reality is all of these different one-off situations, I don't care anymore. We've gotten too far. We've lost the plot. We're seeing guys who are 6th, 7th year guys. Stop it. COVID already gave y'all an extra year. None of you need a year beyond that. None of you need a year beyond 5. And we talk about, hey, this is hurting high school football players. That's hurting high school football players. All of this 5th year, 6th year, 7th year stuff, that's hurting college football players. Granted, that's a very small percentage of the athletes in the NCAA, but still, any percentage is too many. 1 is too many. Brother, go get a job. Go get a job. Go do something else. Stop playing college football. You are in your 7th year. Knock it off.
There was another guy. Oklahoma State, their quarterback, Alan Bowman had been in college since 2018. 2018. He played 7 years.
Lord have mercy.
I absolutely love the 5-for-5 idea. To your point, I'll say it in maybe a little bit more of a harsh way. I don't care about injury excuse. I don't care about hardship excuse. I don't want to hear any excuse in the world. You get 5 years and that's it. That's it. You want a red shirt? That's cool. That's going to burn a year, though. Yep. You'll still get 4 more.
Yeah.
Only 5. That is my opinion on this. Now, it could have huge, massive ripple effects. And Kenton, I actually broke this down on the Locked On Syracuse podcast. I think if the NCAA is going to make this switch, they got to do it ASAP.
Yes.
They got to do it now. If you don't do it now and you decide to wait till June, congratulations, the class of 2021 is probably going to file a class action lawsuit against you because a lot of people got that COVID year in 2020. Mm-hmm. Then the class of 2022 onward, they get the 5th year of eligibility rule, which leaves one class that gets stuck. Class of 2021. They got to do it. Either you do it now or you don't do it at all. And you just leave the current system.
I'm not
for 5 years.
I'm not mad at that at all. Again, I'm very much so on the side of, at the end of the day, college athletics are meant for you to time out. Like, and I'm not even on the side of amateurism because we all know this isn't amateur.
It's not amateurism anymore.
Yeah, it's not amateur ball. You know, it had been amateurism for years. People, when thousands of people show up to scream your name, that's not amateurism. Me and you playing ball in the Y is amateurism. But that's another story for another time. Seeing Jackson Holzer hit a left-hand layup probably would be the joy of my day. But
you think I can hit a left-hand layup? Are you crazy? First of all, I'm right-handed.
That's what I'm saying. I think you were struggling.
Look, I have some athletic ability, not in basketball. Absolutely not. You think I can play basketball? I am one of the worst athletes. I'm one of the worst basketball players in the history of basketball.
And that's what I said. Watch you hit a left-hand layup would make me smile. It would make my heart smile from the beginning. But in all seriousness,
pick me up and let me dunk.
I look at this situation and I say to myself, again, 5 for 5 just makes sense. And that alleviates a little bit of the pressure on the high school guys. And I think that there would have to be something that kind of works in how the JUCO ruling is going to affect that as well. Because to me, again, you talk about, JUCO guys and needing those extra years and it not counting toward their eligibility. Maybe this 5 for 5 is like your compromise between the hey, listen, you get 5 years. So if you do a year or 2 in JUCO, you still have 3 left. You come out of JUCO, you don't have 2. You have 3 whole years left to do whatever you need to do at whatever university you need to do. But to me, it would be ridiculous to see this be stacked on top of that. So now JUCO guys, in essence, get 7 years to be in college, which is like, some about that feels a little wrong. Some about that feels a little like this is icky and gross. So I'm interested to see how this kind of plays out. And of course, we're the most litigious country in the world. So there are going to be lawsuits regardless, Jackson. That's the only thing I disagree with you. Regardless if they do it now, in 6 months, in a year, somebody's going to sue. But I would like to see, this is one thing that I think would have popular support across the board, because how much of an argument can you make for, hey, 5 years is a bad thing?
I really don't have an argument against it, but here's the problem. It is with the JUCO ruling. So Diego Pavia, I just looked it up. He played 2 years in JUCO, and he's played 3 years in Division I. So under our rules, that's it. That's your 5 years. But the court ruling was that playing in JUCO handicaps your ability to make NIL money. So therefore, you got to give him another year. So it would almost turn into a cheat code if you can play 2 years in JUCO and then 5 years of NCAA ball. So to your point, there has got to be some sort of compromise here. Honestly, I think it might be in the best interest for the players to unionize across all college sports. It's not amateurism anymore. I mean, these are basically professionals at this point. They're getting paid. You get paid by definition. You are a professional.
I agree. And I think the unionization would not only be good for the players, it would also be good for the universities. Because what we're seeing, for example, take my beloved old NC State. There are multiple guys who re-signed into the NIL collective who are now in the portal. They didn't re-sign the collective at the end of 2020. They re-signed at the end of the 2024 season, just this year over the holidays, and they're still in the portal. At some point, professionals don't even have that much freedom. Like when
No.
you sign, you sign. If you're signed to a year-long,
professionals have no freedom.
well, yeah,
That's why they're always constantly fighting for freedom. Collegiate athletes have much more freedom than an NFL. Than
exactly. And to me, when you sign, you're there. To me, when that's the situation, you're where you're supposed to be. So I look at this kind of 5-year thing and say like, oh, with the cheat code and who can make it, who can. I'm going to say very simply as I can put it. At the end of the day, it should be 5 for everybody. And at most, if you're a JUCO guy, give you a 1-year kind of deal there. But that's I don't see the actual the principle of that and the spirit of that. I do see that being violated at a high level. If you are to say, hey, you get 2 years of JUCO and then X amount of years at the FBS level.
I mean, it's just so it's so complicated. I almost lose my words over it. It's like if you're a high school athlete, not like a 5 or a 4-star guy. I'm talking like most of the athletes who make college ball. It doesn't matter what sport. Most of them are going to be 3 stars or lower. In fact, most of them are going to be 0 stars.
Of course.
Why wouldn't you go to JUCO to start? Why wouldn't you? You're still going to get an education. You're going to get educated, go for a couple of years, and then you got 5 more. Because the court's saying right now that it doesn't count.
Now we're back at square one. Because
now we're back at square one.
We're back with a bunch of 25-year-olds running around on the field.
There's just got to be some sort of solution here. And I think the best solution for every party is let's go 5 for 5. You get 5 seasons no matter what. I do not care where you started playing college. I don't care if you got injured. I am so sorry. I don't want to speak too insensitively. I don't care what the hardship is. You get 5 years because you know what? You play professionally. If you somehow make real professional ball, doesn't matter what sport, guess what? You sign a contract, and if you tear your ACL, you blow your knee out, guess what? Yeah. That year still counts on your contract, last time I checked. Yep. That's where I'm at with this. There's got to be a solution. This is the solution from John Rothstein. 5 seasons, 5 years. That's it. I'm Jackson Holzer, the host of Locked On Syracuse, filling in for Alex Dono. That's Kenton Gibbs, the host of Locked On Wolfpack. He's always here on Locked On ACC. Thank you for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Alex Dono will be back for the next episode of Locked On ACC. And plus, ACC Squad is returning on Thursday. Folks, it's going to be a good one. So everyone, take care.